This message isn't for everyone. It's for those who have inquired. The ones who loved behind closed doors and prayed for others, even though they were ignored, laughed at, or even insulted in public. You did not need a light. Your heart was strong. They didn't know rain was coming, but your prayers stopped them. You kept the peace. The drought started when you left, because God doesn't take away from you when He moves you. He's keeping you safe by moving you around and covering you. They thought you were ordinary. They believed you could be easily replaced. But now, the silence you left behind feels louder than anything you ever said. Have you ever poured your heart, your time, and your prayers into someone only to feel like you were completely overlooked? It's like your kindness was taken for granted, as if your presence didn't really matter. So, let me tell you the truth. You were always more than just present. You received a special assignment, like a little gift from above. They missed it. They only realized it after you were gone. Until you were gone, and everything went dark. Now they're wandering around in the dark, coming to terms with the fact that what they really lost wasn't just a person. It felt like a heavenly bond. This message isn't meant for everyone. It's meant for just a select group. Those who were a hidden blessing, but faced rejection in public. You really didn't need a platform to shift the vibe. Your spirit really made it happen. Your prayers created a shield of protection that they weren't even aware of. But still, they made you feel like you were just something to throw away. But then, something changed. The air felt thicker. The peace just vanished. Now they have to face that one truth they always tried to avoid. The chosen one has left us. And with that absence, there's a real sense of spiritual emptiness. When you walk away, it feels like heaven's covering is right there with you. You didn't lose, you know. You didn't mess up. You were taken away by a higher power, kept safe, guarded, and moved to a new place. And you know what? Those who treated you poorly are figuring out the tough lesson that not every blessing can be swapped out. The chosen one. If this resonates with you right now, go ahead and share it in the comments. Let go of the 99, because the 99 that are left behind will never feel whole without the one that was meant to be. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and let's make sure this message gets to every chosen one out there who's felt misunderstood, mistreated, and is now on the rise. Because what's about to happen is a change they didn't expect at all. Are you all set for it? They were just hanging around expecting something big, something really impressive. A hero who makes a grand entrance, full of strength, titles, and accolades. But that's not how God works. When heaven wants to change the vibe, it doesn't send a celebrity. He sends over a servant. Guess what? That servant was you. You didn't step into their lives with big speeches. You shared your wisdom without pushing it on anyone. You just came in with an open heart and a positive vibe, ready to give without looking for anything back. But they just couldn't see what was right there in front of them. Why is that? The world often overlooks the subtle brilliance that exists around us. They just notice what shines on the surface. But you know, heaven really hides its greatest treasures in the simplest things. While they were caught up in all the noise, you were out there creating peace. While they were busy searching for leaders on stages, you were out there leading with your actions, your patience, and those quiet prayers in the background. You carried a light that they were just too distracted to notice. But that light was keeping them going. Every chat you tuned into, every time you picked compassion instead of ego, and every moment you stayed cool while others lost their heads, those were spiritual acts of warfare they just didn't see coming. You stood as a shield between chaos and peace, but they confused your calm demeanor for weakness. They figured you were just being kind, but you were actually stepping in. They figured you were just too sensitive, but really, you were just being discerning. They assumed you were just going along with things, but you were fighting battles quietly that they could never have handled because God made you a gentle storm, looking soft on the outside, but unstoppable in your mission. They were looking for a warrior wielding a sword, but instead, God sent them a peacemaker carrying a shield. Since you didn't arrive with a round of applause, they kind of missed you. So, chosen one, being invisible is just part of what we need to do here. Sometimes, the most powerful people are right in front of us, and we only see their true strength when they step away. You didn't go there to show off or anything. You were there changing the vibe, even if they didn't realize it. But now that you're not here, everything just feels off. The calm has faded away. The light's gotten a bit dimmer. They always thought their stability was solid, but now it's starting to fall apart. It's only now that they're beginning to realize your presence was anything but ordinary. It was a smart move. It was absolutely amazing. It's interesting how God works through his chosen ones in ways that often surprise us. He stashes diamonds in the dust. He puts pillars inside people they consider to be disposable. You were like a strong support, keeping up things they didn't even realize were so delicate. But you didn't shout out for attention. You just stayed strong in the shadows, doing the work that was meant for you. Now that your post is empty, it's clear that the cracks are starting to show. The ground is really trembling. The silence you left behind is screaming the truth way louder than anything you ever said. But guess what? There's a twist they totally didn't expect. Just because you weren't around doesn't mean it's over for you. It was the moment you revealed yourself. What they thought was just ordinary is about to show itself as something they really can't live without. Stick around, because in just a moment, you'll see that the emptiness you felt isn't just about emotions. It's something deeper, something spiritual. And you know what? That truth is about to flip everything on its head. When you were there, everything just felt so easy. The vibe was really easygoing. The relationship just flowed naturally. Doors have opened up, but they just didn't get it. They figured it was just a coincidence. They believed life was all about enjoying the good times. But what they never noticed was the unseen force keeping everything in place. It was you, wasn't it? Your vibe, your spiritual connection. You were the steady force below, making sure everything stayed in place and didn't spiral into chaos. You didn't make a big deal out of it. You didn't share your prayers with anyone. But as they were laughing, you stepped in. As they voiced their complaints, you took care of things. They were looking for validation, but you were out there seeking heaven's favor for them. You were like the calm in the chaos, the silent protector who took on the challenges they didn't even see coming. But now, since you're not around to cushion the fall, the hit is straight on. The arguments they used to dismiss are still hanging around. Conflicts that used to sort themselves out now seem to just get bigger. The peace that used to be around has just disappeared. The reality is, you weren't just there. You were keeping things in spiritual balance. They didn't even realize it until you were gone. And now, with you gone, they're learning the cost of dishonoring a divine placement. Conversations seem to carry more weight. Disagreements just seem to go on forever. It seems like peace has just disappeared. Life isn't just getting tougher. It feels amazing to get your point across. When God takes away a vessel, it's interesting how the absence can say things that the presence never did. Your silence now echoes in the places where your prayers used to keep watch. The ease they had before wasn't just a matter of luck. It was like grace flowing right through you. Now that the grace has lifted, reality is starting to hit. You were more than just helpful. You played a crucial role. You all were the ones quietly supporting what they believed was unbreakable. But you know what? There's a deeper truth to it all. They're not facing any punishment. They're getting a look at it. It seems like they're picking up lessons on their own while you're not around. Lessons they just won't absorb when you're there. It's not about revenge. It's about compassion. Sometimes, the only thing pride understands is a little bit of distance. Just a heads up, don't take this separation as a sign of rejection. The height of it, you're definitely not being pushed aside. It seems like you're being set up for something. The tough times you faced weren't meant to break you. It was all about getting ready for your big reveal. When heaven hides a vessel, it's not about burying it. It's all about building it quietly, thoroughly, and with a touch of divinity. And when the moment comes, what they thought was just ordinary will turn out to be the one thing they can't live without. Yeah, the air definitely feels different now. It feels like the peace has disappeared. The ground is shaking a bit. But the silence you left behind isn't just emptiness, it's proof. There's proof that God put a chosen one right in their midst. So, they totally missed it. And now, here come the consequences. So, the unraveling started, not with loud bangs, but with a quiet, almost sacred stillness. When they dismissed you, they probably thought they were just brushing off another kind-hearted person, someone who was being a bit extra, overly spiritual, too sensitive, or maybe even a little naive. But from heaven's perspective, they weren't just brushing someone off. They decided to turn down an assignment. An answer that feels truly divine, delivered with humility, dressed in compassion, and backed by spiritual authority. It seemed like they were turning you down, but what they really turned away from was the help they had been hoping for all along. It's no coincidence that you ended up in that space. You were the answer, a tangible solution, like a delivery from heaven for a need they couldn't even put into words. God didn't send you here just to get compliments. He asked you to help bring things back to normal. But when they disrespected you, they triggered something that not many really get, a spiritual principle. It's not about revenge or karma. It's really just the law of consequence at play. If someone welcomes you, they're welcoming me. And if they're welcoming me, they're also welcoming the one who sent me. Check out Matthew 10, verse 40. This isn't about pride. It's all about keeping things in order. God doesn't work through chaos. He shows his determination by getting everything in sync. When someone, whether it's an individual, a family, or a community, disrespects what God sends, they're not just being rude to a messenger. They're actually throwing a wrench in the divine order. When things are chaotic, it feels like heaven takes a step back. That's why everything that used to come so easily in their lives now feels a bit forced. What used to be easy chats now feel a bit tense. Doors that used to swing open now just won't budge, no matter how hard they're pushed. They just called it a coincidence. They said it was just bad timing. Honestly, it's just dishonor. Dishonor creates spiritual barriers that no amount of effort can get around. As you were quietly praying, they were making fun of your prayers. While you were carefully figuring things out, they put too many labels on you. They figured their whispers behind your back wouldn't matter much. In the spiritual realm, whispers really carry a lot of weight. Even the smallest hint of disrespect doesn't go unnoticed by God. Sometimes, when it crosses a threshold, heaven doesn't just respond with fire. Sometimes, it just lifts up. Isn't it fascinating how divine silence can be both terrifying and beautiful at the same time? There's no thunder, no plagues, just a quietness that's almost sacred, so lacking in grace that even the most arrogant start to sense the change. Don't let yourself be fooled. You can't fool God. You know, whatever you put out there is what you're going to get back. Galatians 6, verse 7. They experienced the silence, the confusion, the heaviness, not because you put a curse on them, but because they dismantled the shield you were meant to protect. They used to laugh at you, but then the arrows began to fly. Now that the spiritual covering is gone, the atmosphere they once took for granted is starting to unravel, little by little. But you know what? This is the part they totally didn't see coming. This isn't about punishment. It's a real eye-opener. Sometimes, God lets things happen not to break us, but to show us what our pride has been hiding. It's like holding up a mirror and saying, "Look at what you did with what I gave you." He let the well run dry, making them yearn for what they had once taken for granted. So, you know, dishonor isn't really just a personal choice. It has an effect on the public. It's not just offensive. It cuts. It doesn't simply turn away. It roots the blessing. They took down the bridge, thinking the water would keep flowing, but it turns out the source has changed. What used to cover them is now being sent to places that will truly appreciate it. So, here you are, going through a divine transition. It's all about being in the right spot, not for the cheers, but for connection, for meaning, for tranquility, and for acknowledgement that comes not from people, but from a higher power. The stone that the builders turned away has now become the cornerstone. Psalm 18, verse 22. It's not just about losing someone, it's about losing access to. Now, the quiet of you not being here feels way louder than all their chatter. Every little mistake, every flaw in the setup, every door that's shut, and every tense moment, it all circles back to what we've lost. They totally didn't see it coming. The strongest presence in the room was the one who never sought the spotlight. No microphone was necessary. You weren't looking for the spotlight. You never aimed for applause, did you? You weren't around for validation. You were there for the change. You completed your task quietly and in sync. As they rushed for attention, you remained calm and composed. Even as they raised their voices, you quietly whispered prayers that could move mountains. As they were striving for recognition, you were there in spirit, making sure they felt supported. You weren't put there to show off your skills. You were chosen to keep things safe. They just couldn't see it. Yeah, most people really don't. In a world that really values being seen, the quiet work of intercession often slips under the radar. But you know, heaven's always watching, right? It sees everything and keeps track of it all. When you pray, just head to your room, shut the door, and talk to your Father, whom you can't see. Your dad, who knows what happens behind closed doors, will give you a reward. Check out Matthew 6, verse 6. They never knew about the struggles you faced at 2 a.m. They cried for the peace they once took for granted. They had no idea about the burden you bore quietly, the battles you fought while staying calm. But you were recognized by the spiritual realm. That's the reason you faced such constant attacks. The enemy doesn't bother with strategy on those who have nothing to offer. You got marked. Your willingness to follow through made a subtle but lasting change. No stage was necessary for you to hold power. You were the driving force behind the peace. You were there in the spaces, those little cracks that everyone else seemed to overlook. You really picked up on those cracks, didn't you? You wrapped them up with a prayer. You didn't just ignore the wounds. You wrapped them up in spiritual healing. While others chuckled at the chaos, you quietly worked behind the scenes to keep it all from falling apart. It's interesting how your strength was kind of under the radar, making your impact not so obvious. And that's just how it goes for those who are really chosen. They don't change rooms because of the noise. They really change the vibe just by being there. They create order from chaos without needing any acknowledgement. They calm storms with their insight and wear peace like a cozy cloak. Even if no one gets where it's coming from, you didn't just change the vibe of the room. You were the one who made it feel safe. So, now that you've taken a step back, it's clear that there's an imbalance. The conversations that used to come so easily now seem a bit forced. The peace that used to feel so natural now seems a bit forced and fragile. What used to run smoothly now falls apart at the tiniest bit of stress, and they're scratching their heads about it. They just can't seem to explain it. But you totally can. You were the one who brought the vibe. The person who made changes behind the scenes. The person who kept chaos at bay while everyone else enjoyed their comfort. The person who quietly stepped in so they could find their peace. You were the protector. They just never acknowledged it. Now that the shield is gone, the impact is hitting us directly. They saw your sensitivity as a flaw. They made fun of your judgment. They said your depth was a bit too much. But now they find themselves in a room that feels strange, weighed down by the tension that you used to take in without a second thought. So, let me tell you what they didn't realize. You had a way of being in the right spot, like a blessing from above, all while keeping things simple. You were like a calm barrier, holding back everything that seemed ready to spill over. So, now that the protection is gone, it's not because of any bad feelings, but rather because dishonor tends to mess up that spiritual balance. If you welcome a prophet because they are a prophet, you'll get the same reward as they do. Matthew 10, verse 41. When dishonor comes into play, the reward just fades away. Not as a punishment, but because it's the way things work. When the gift loses its value, heaven takes it away. The flow just stops. The atmosphere starts to dry out, and what used to feel normal begins to show signs of breaking down under the heaviness of a spiritual emptiness. They were never your issue. You were their safeguard. But when they didn't see it, when they laughed, brushed off, and disrespected God, He did what He always does for His vessels. He took you away to keep you safe. Now, the silence you left behind is louder than anything you ever said. The emptiness has turned into a guide. The outcomes are showing what's really going on. Every fracture, every delay, every little change in the vibe just shows what they lost when they let you go. It turns out that the person keeping everything in check wasn't the one making the most noise. Pay attention for a moment, my friend. Looks like they turned you down. Absolutely, they totally underestimated you, overlooked you, and acted like you were just someone they could easily replace. But oh, heaven just won't let you slip away. What they saw as a discard, God viewed as a promotion. They thought your leaving was the final chapter. Your absence is actually like setting the stage for something heavenly, where your purpose will truly shine. What used to overlook you is now going to sense the importance of your mission. What once pushed you aside will see how God lifts you up in ways that your value won't just be noticed, but truly celebrated. The emptiness they're experiencing right now isn't a form of punishment. It's like an echo. Your presence really made a mark in their lives, and you can feel that impact echoing on. They had to figure out what you had been keeping under wraps all along. But you're getting ready for places where your true self will shine, where your light will stay bright, and where your purpose won't be held back. You weren't made to blend in. You were made to change the vibe, to unlock opportunities that most folks don't even notice. So, here you are, getting ready to step onto platforms where everything you say is going to matter a whole lot. They figured that leaving would quiet you down. But up in heaven, your voice just keeps on echoing. Keep this in mind, my friend. You're so much more than what they think. You're so much more than what they see. You're like a vessel, an instrument, and a spiritual weapon in God's hands. It's time to stop hiding your light. This is just the start of what's to come for you. No one has really experienced what you have to offer yet, but soon enough, doors will swing wide for those who have carried the burden of being misunderstood. So, I'm telling you now, lift your head up, boost your spirit. You won't be able to miss what God is about to do in your life. If this phrase sparked something in you, drop a comment saying, "I was the blessing they rejected." Share your story, because it will inspire others who have faced dishonor and are on the brink of their own restoration. Hey, before you head out, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it with your friends. This isn't just about you. It's the tale of every chosen one that the world just didn't appreciate. All right, let's get ready. Your time to shine and be recognized is just around the corner. Your journey continues from here. Your assignment is just getting started. This time, nobody's going to be able to dull your shine.